Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. Today, if you guys, this is another Marvel Cinematic Universe review. We just tackled Spider-Man No Way Home, which if you haven't seen that review or any of the MCU reviews, make sure to go check that out. Yes, you can probably tell I'm a little nasally. I'm not really sick anymore. It's just the remnants. So hopefully I won't cough and die. If I do, I don't know, whatever, I'll blow up. But yeah, we're reviewing, of course, the next MCU project, which is your boy's favorite so far, Moon Knight, at least in terms of the MCU shows. It's been called the MCU before by certain people. But yeah, so we are back with Moon Knight, and when this initially kind of released on Disney Plus, I watched it. It was fine. But after the show really kind of ended with, I think it's, I don't know, 6 or 8 episodes. I think 6. It was just very much, like, when that ended, I was like, this is effing great. Like, I didn't know a whole lot about Moon Knight, I played the Lego Marvel games, so, he was in Lego Marvel 1. I think he might be in all 3 Lego Marvel games. You can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he is. So, I'm not, like, well-versed in Moon Knight. I have a few comics in my bedroom that I read sometimes, but, this isn't like a character like, Iron Man or Spider-Man or Deadpool or Wolverine or something like that I'm, like, super-duper well-versed into. But he's effing cool, he's always been a really badass-looking hero. I love Ancient Egypt. I love Assassin's Creed Origins, which I have like 130 hours in that game, which probably isn't a lot for some people, but, I genuinely loved Bayek in that world in that, video game. And, I think Ancient Egypt is a really cool, period in time and just place in general. So, when they kind of announced they were doing a Moon Knight show, I was like, oh, this is freaking cool, I get to relive that love for it. And, upon finishing the show, I loved it. It was great. Very, very well done, right? I love the acting. Oscar Isaac, he's been in Marvel before, right? He was Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. And, he was fine. He was a fine villain, I guess. Just kind of caked in makeup, but you can kind of tell it was him. He has like a certain weird, I don't want to say weird, but like certain look to Oscar Isaac where you can just tell it's him, even with makeup. But with that, this, and then obviously he's been in The Rise of Skywalker, or the Force Awakens, which I have a poster there. The Last Jedi, I don't have a poster, weirdly, and The Rise of Skywalker, which obviously my favorite set of films ever made. Oscar Isaac is great as Poe Dameron. I think Poe Dameron is one of the best written characters in all of Star Wars. He has a phenomenal character arc, very good acting in that trilogy. But, Oscar, let's be honest, Poe doesn't have a million different, emotions and all that. Really, he's a hotshot, badass pilot, who learns a lesson, but that's kind of what he was pegged as, And in this starts as Stephen Grant, right? Who's doing his best, doing his best little British accent, hello, my blighters, skaters, that kind of thing. And it's fine. This show has been kind of marred and under controversy for just a really shitty British accent. Now, as a non-British person and someone who does voices, I literally was someone who tricked my art teacher in high school. Like, she had to leave and then we got like a substitute and I was like, oh, hey, I'm from England, can you show me around? And she was like, wow, are you from England? I was like, yeah, I am. Bloody well. And then at the end of the semester I had to tell her, I didn't tell her I wasn't. So I pranked my art teacher for a whole semester. That was fun. But yeah, so I'm not saying I'm the best British guy in the world, but I think it's alright. I don't know. I don't know any British people, but we'll have to find out. But, Stephen Grant does a good job. He is that very mild-mannered kind of gift shop guy who knows a fudge ton about Egypt and just the lore, and mythology around Egyptian culture. And then we, of course, meet, what's-his-face? Mark Spector, obviously, who is this mercenary killer kind of guy, who's pretty much the exact opposite of Stephen Grant. He's not British, and he's a murderer. But then, these kind of points kind of coincide where, Mark, or Stephen kind of, sees Mark in like a reflection or certain windows and all that, and stuff really kind of hits the fan, and we get introduced to, Arthur Harrow, the bad guy, and Khonshu, and all these different Egyptian gods and goddesses and all that. And it's cool, again, I'm not super well versed into Egyptian mythology and all that. Obviously, I believe in God, Jesus Christ God, not Khonshu, So, it's not like I'm like, oh, I know all about this, but it is cool, It's like Norse mythology, that kind of stuff, It's cool, I like it. And obviously, with the MCU, we've had a lot more Norse, stuff than we have with Egyptian stuff. Really, all we have is the show. But it is really cool that we got that nonetheless. And then, of course, we get Mark Spector and all that. And this show kind of, through all the amazing CGI, by the way, I'll just talk about that very quickly. CGI is great. We're in this. We've officially entered this weird MCU area, right? Where like some of the movies look freaking amazing, right? Spider-Man No Way Home. Eternals, other things, right? Moon Knight, for example. They look great. Like, the CGI is genuinely really good. And then you get scenes like, we're going to get to, like, Thor Ragnarok, or Thor Love and Thunder, and, like, certain scenes in Black Widow, certain scenes in Quantumania where they're not good. Black Panther had some shit CGI in the end, too, in the last final battle act in Wakanda, but I get it. CGI takes a while to do, and it's expensive, and, people are getting overworked, and Marvel has a trillion things every 5 minutes releasing, so I get it. But as I said in one of my other videos, video games you can patch and make better. When a movie or TV show is gone, or, done, it's pretty much effing done, right? As long as you're not cats, you can pretty much not patch out things, right? I mean, no one really does that. So it's kind of interesting that, some of it looks great, some of it not. But thankfully, everything in this looks really great. Again, the copy that I bought on Blu-ray here is really, really good. No issues there, which is nice if you wanted to buy this from eCrate or Etsy, something like that. It works fine on a region-free player. But everything about this is really, really good in terms of how it looks, right? The cinematography is beautiful. CGI is freaking outstanding. Khonshu looks great, Even like when Mark Spector or Stephen Grant or whoever, is like in the costume, like the Moon Knight or Mr. Knight costume. It's like, there's Mr. Knight. It's kind of, CGI, you can tell, but it's not bad. Like, it genuinely looks really, really good. And the only reason you can tell is because our human eyes are, I touched the glasses, but, I'm not going to touch my eyeball. The human eyes have been, accustomed to knowing what the F a human looks like. So when it's not, even though it's, really, really good with, like, Thanos, almost died. You can tell that Gollum or something, I don't know. But, yeah, so the CGI overall, like I said, really great. Music is great as well. They got that Egyptian music in there as well. Obviously, I can't really play a soundtrack from my brain, but it's good. Like, I don't remember it, but, when I'm watching it, I'm not like, oh, that's some bad music. Like, no, it's good. It's good. The acting, again, phenomenal. As I said, Oscar Isaac has been, from what I've seen him in, again, X-Men, Star Wars, and this, he's freaking great. I think this is easily, though, his best performance in anything I've ever seen, right? Because you're not just getting cool pilot Poe Dameron who learns a lesson. You're getting Stephen Grant, who is, not only is he doing a British accent, but he's also kind of, obviously acting a lot more meek and more, different than Mark Spector would, or even Jake Lockley in the end there, which we don't really get a whole lot of Jake in the end, but I guess he's like an even more crazy killer. But it is interesting that, through all the CGI and all the action scenes, which are great, we'll get to that, the story, which we'll get to, it has kind of like, oddly enough, like Joker 1 and 2 with Joaquin Phoenix, like Joker 1 and 2 tendencies. Maybe not as brutal or not as, drowned out, right? Joker 1 was all about what happens when a mentally ill person is pushed to his limits through a fucked up society, and then you get Joker Filet do the McDonald order, which again has its own unique thing of how does society treat this, and how did Arthur Fleck want to be seen, which obviously you can watch my Joker 2 review. I loved it. I think it's a great film. Coming out on Blu-ray in December, so there you go, unboxing video. But this kind of has little baby flakes, little flakes in there, because Stephen Grant is, of course, under this assumption that, oh, my mom's fine, and whatever, he talks to his mom all the time. Life is great, right? But he blacks out, and all these things happen, and he wakes up in different locations. He doesn't know what the fudge is going on. And then, of course, whenever he blacks out, it's pretty much Mark Spector, maybe Jake, but that's kind of conspiracy theories. It's pretty much Mark. And I like that, that I think it's episode 5, where, Steven kind of finds out through Mark and through that, weird hospital aftermath where he gets killed, shot, and he dies. He goes to the hospital place with the weird hippo. It's cool that, we get to see him showcase those emotions with Steven and with Mark. And when he's, like, slapping the concrete and all that, it was in one of my edits. It's just really good emotion, and I almost cried the first time seeing it. I didn't cry this time because I knew it was happening, but it is very emotional. I think he is a really good actor. Of course, the girl playing Layla, she does great. She obviously, no one really talks about Layla. I think she's kind of cool looking, and she's also cool. Like, she's cool. She's cool. She's cool. She's a well-written character, I think. Everyone in the show is great. I don't remember the guy, Stephen Hawking, I think. Ethan Hawke, not fucking Stephen Hawking. That'd be weird. Ethan Hawke. He was a hawk somewhere. It was a Birdman. He's playing, of course, Harrow, the bad guy. And this is a very dark show, okay? Like, this. I remember when this first came out, this was when the MCU was like, people on Twitter were like, the MCU, this is really violent and dark. Wow, this isn't for kids. And I'm like, I don't think any of it was. But it's interesting that, yeah, this is basically the most hard PG-13 or TV-14 effing show you can get that isn't R-rated. I mean, there's a lot of blood, not a whole lot of blood, but there's some blood. Of course, you know, there is a lot of, obviously, punching and kicking and stabbing and choking and neck snapping and giant gods fighting and, you know, guns and swords. And it's a violent show. But, you know, through seeing that, you see the difference of Steven and the difference of Mark and how they act and all that. And, of course, you know, we get to see Steven kind of grow as a character and not just be like a nerd who likes Egypt, who actually, like, you know, fights Harrow in the end with Layla, you know what I mean? Like, he takes over, and him and Mark are kind of able to work together, and it's kind of like Eddie Brock and Venom, I guess. I haven't seen The Last Dance yet. I'm seeing it next week. Don't spoil it. That's out now, by the way. I've seen that next week. But it is interesting that it kind of has that dynamic, right? It's like Gollum and Smeagol, right? Like, they want nothing to do with each other, and by the end of the show, they're kind of able to accept that, and obviously, it's weird, right? I mean, apparently this is a real thing. Like, you know how in the Joker movies, Arthur, like, laughs like crazy? That laughing isn't him being like, ooh, I'm evil, bats. You know, it's not like that. It's like, you know, a sign of pain and all that. And that's a real medical problem that some people have. I don't know anyone, but apparently it's real. Same thing here, right? I don't have this issue, but apparently it's real, where literally people will create, like, alternate realities and you know, universes, so to speak, of themselves, and basically become a different person to deal with trauma or any other kind of stuff that happens. And obviously Steven had to create this, Steven had to create this, Mark had to create this alternate personality of Steven, you know, this you know, crazy jungle action hero to kind of shield himself from not only his abusive mom, but also just the really effed up world and his trauma with him, you know, with his brother dying and all that. And like I said, it's really effed up and really dark, but it's not as dark as Joker wanted to, but it does get to that where, you know, that location where you have to kind of go, oh yeah, okay, like, this is believable, and I understand why this character's feeling that pain and why this character does, why Mark invented Steven and all that. And it's really cool to see Steven kind of understand why he was essentially made and why his entire purpose is there. I don't think people act like how Mark, Steven, and Jake do in this show. I don't know if it's like that theatric, where like his fucking eyes grow back, he's like, and then he's like, hey man, how you doing? You know, like, I don't think it's like that, where like you just like become a Mexican or something. But you never know. Again, I don't have the problem. But it's interesting, you know. I mean, if I was a psychology or something major, I'd probably look into that more. But it is really cool that they kind of address that in this show. Again, it's a freaking Marvel show, so it's obviously not exactly how it is in real life. But it is cool that they kind of have that in there, and I didn't know that was part of the Moon Knight character. I think that's kind of cool. I thought he was just white Batman with a instead of a batarang, he has a freaking moon. But I mean, there's a lot more to it than that, which is cool. Again, Layla's cool. She gets the power. I don't remember the certain power, but the silver scarab or the golden scarab or something. She has really cool wings in the end. There's like some really like horrific shit in this show. Like, there's literally a horror episode where, like, you know, Layla and Mark / Steven go into this cave and they have to find this tomb, right, of I think it was like Alexander the Great, maybe, or King Tut, something like that. And like, there's these weird, like, you know, monsters and all that, and like the way they filmed it was like, I remember Layla getting attacked by some kind of demon creature thing, but it was really cool to see that again. And you know, I've only seen this is my second time seeing it, so to see, you know, her get like attacked from like behind, or just some really good direction, really good cinematography, where like Layla gets pushed into the center of the frame, and then like the thing comes out of nowhere and grabs her back, and it's like a one-shot thing where like she's beating it up, she kills it, and she kind of, I like that scene because she doesn't just kill the animal, the creature, and she's like, fuck it, you know, and she just moves on. Like, she literally screams out of, like, not only rage, but also just like, what the fudge just happened, you know what I mean? So, very human emotions in the show, which I really enjoyed. They're not, you know, you can make the case where some of the women characters in Marvel have been written a little bit too powerful, where, you know, we think about Black Widow, right? Like, all the women are like all powerful goddesses, and all the men are just like stupid, you know, morons that have no idea what the hell's going on. That's not real life. Obviously, there are strong, independent women, but there's also strong, independent men, right? You don't have to make the women better to make the men worse, or vice versa, right? Like, men and women are, at least for normal people, they are equal in status in life. I would think. You're like that. I'm like that. I mean, women are tight. But at the same time, you know, you get that where it's like, okay, these are well-written characters, unlike Black Widow, where you can kind of see and go, okay, yeah, I believe that character's going to do that, and it's not overpowered or Mary Sue or some other stupid term that the internet likes to coin. But yeah, I think it was a really good addition to the you know, franchise and show. Everything really. I mean, the action scenes are great. By the way, not only is the show just well framed, well choreographed, well cinematographed, fine, but it has really good moments where the action is great, and there were some complaints in the beginning where they would go not like that, but I can't do the where like it like blacks out and like Mark's like, oh shit, I'm in Africa now or something, and like he's covered in blood and everyone's just dead, and it's like you skip the fight scene, you skip the action. Thank God that's not the whole show, because those scenes are good because it alludes to the mystery of what's happening, right? And we find that out later in the show. But seeing, the actual action scenes like Mark on the rooftops in Cairo or I think Egypt or something like that, he's just beating up the thugs or whatever on the rooftops, or, seeing the auction scene where Moon Knight's in full glory, he's just punching and kicking people, he's getting stabbed in the hand. And, I mean, it's brutal stuff, and it's really well filmed. And then the end is amazing, too, the one shot where Steven has the two little, like, dummy Nightwing-looking clubs, and he's just like attacking the guys and all that. It's really, really good. There's this really cool scene too, where like Mr. Knight like tackles Harrow, and he kind of like punches him something. And he kind of like dusts himself off and like fixes his shirt real quick. And then he gets like kicked, and he shoots a grapple hook, and like Harrow moves a certain way. You can tell they took a lot of time with the action and to make it either funny or epic or badass or whatever. I mean, they really wanted to hit certain emotions with these action scenes, and they're not just quick cut, quick cut, quick cut. I mean, like you can follow what's going on, which is good. And again, the show ends on kind of a cerebral note in a way, because when Steven dies, they go to the Egyptian afterlife, right? And they're kind of separated from their bodies, and they kind of have to work things out. And that's, really where the heart comes in and where you get a lot of the character development, which is really great. And then, of course, they get to kind of figure things out, and, they beat up Harrow and all that, and they kind of save the day. The whole psychiatric ward thing is really cool as well. I know Ash vs. Evil Dead did that as well. I'm rewatching that show for fun too soon, but I think it's going to be, it is really cool to see that where you see Mark in like the psychiatric ward and Layla's there, and a lot of people that you've seen in the show are there as well, and you're like, wait, what's good? Is this real? Is this all in his head? Is he imagining it? And then of course we find out pretty effing fast that it's not in his head, that he's dead, and this is the afterlife, his version of it. But it is really interesting to see that happen and play out, And then, of course, he escapes that and whatnot, and Harrow dies, right? Post-credit scene, Harrow is in a real psychiatric ward, and the third personality, Jake Lockley, comes in and just kind of shoots him a few times in the head in his limo, and he vrooms away. And it's really cool to see that, it does kind of end on a not a cliffhanger, but end on a pretty concisive note. So I do think Moon Knight will return. I remember people liking it. There wasn't a whole lot of controversy about the show for to some extent at least. And then we also, we have not really gotten like a true confirmation of a season 2 or Moon Knight will return in Avengers Secret Wars or the whatever wars, whatever, Doomsday, who knows. I do think that Oscar Isaac will be back. I hope he comes back as Poe Dameron, and I hope he comes back as Moon Knight as well, because I think he did a great job in both franchises, and just to kind of see him act in these ways is really cool as well. And really great action, really good. I think genuinely, I do believe this is the best MCU show. Obviously for the reasons I've listed, but I love this. I don't know, personally, like without giving you a laundry list of reasons, I just personally love this show the most. Again, I'm going to be rewatching Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk and what else? Secret Invasion. I haven't even finished Secret Invasion fully, so I'll get to that. So yeah, we have a lot more MCU to go, but I do want to let you know that right now, out of all the shows I've watched, I pretty much loved them all. Again, you can watch those reviews, but this one personally is my favorite for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I think this is a great show, man. I really freaking loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was funny, really good action, good story, really good heart, some emotional moments, and a very captivating story with some great CGI. So really, there's not a whole lot of bad to say. I think that, for the most part, everything kind of worked together. I don't want to be like, oh, it's a 10 out of 10 show, but I really can't think of any issues that would bring it down from a 10. I don't. Like, the music was good, the CGI was good, the acting was good, the writing was good, the storytelling was, like, everything pretty much is top-tier Marvel, right? You know how some people say, like, after Endgame, the MCU died, it's all horrible, and, oh my god, it's not my Marvel. No. The MCU never effing died. It never died. It's not gonna die unless they actually kill it themselves. Deadpool and Wolverine showed these movies still make billions of dollars. They're still popular. And yeah, I don't think superhero fatigue is real. I think just really shitty movie fatigue is real. But we haven't really gotten to that stage, at least for me, not yet. I think truly the MCU is very much alive at this stage, but also just now in general. I think the MCU is on a great track. we'll get to it. We have some more stuff to cover, right? We'll get to some of these other things that I have some issues with. But right now, I think it's all been pretty great so far. Again, I've reviewed literally everything in the MCU from Iron Man 1 all the way to this so far. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you go check them out. And yeah, I really can't wait to go back to this. The next one will be Doctor Strange 2, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness. And then I am going to be taking a little bit of an MCU break. I do want to watch, it is, October. So personally, I want to watch Evil Dead again. I'm watching all the movies and the whole show, which shouldn't take me that long. And then I'm going to go right back into the MCU. And obviously in the meantime, between Doctor Strange 2 and whatever comes after that, I'm going to have unboxings and reviews and gameplay and whatever. So, it's not like my content's going to go anywhere. But as far as the MCU, we got one more. We got Doctor Strange 2 and then a little bit of a break. Don't worry, it won't be a year or anything. Just probably a few weeks, something like that. And then after I finish the Evil Dead stuff, I'll get back to it. But let me know in the comments what you think about Moon Knight. If you love this show, if you really enjoyed it like me, what's your favorite episode, what's your favorite moment? And also, regarding Evil Dead real quick, do you want me to review or even re-review Evil Dead? I might have some different opinions, so let me know in the comments if you want that as well. I'm going to have a community post also, so yeah, let me know about that. And again, let's talk about Moon Knight in the comments, man. It's a pretty good show, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.